All right, guys. So, once again, good to have all of you here. Thanks for joining, Bright. Thanks, Stephen, for joining. Thanks, IK, for being part of this. And Chanel, thanks for joining from Cameroon. Great to have you again. And Tom, great to have you. I guess other people will join um, as we go on. But then it's great to have you guys because I just told you guys this morning or this afternoon itself that we will be meeting today. And I just felt it was important for us to meet because I wanted to discuss some things that have been shared on the WhatsApp group. And who shared them? I think it was Samuel that shared them. Yes, I think Samuel's. Yeah, shared them, and they were pretty interesting things. I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to watch what he shared on AI. He was talking about the impact of on AI on design. Very, very interesting video. If you can get to watch it and listen to them, although it can be a little challenging when you listen to them because they are core Americans, and so when they talk a lot of American lingo, and a lot of what they are saying is based on American culture. So you might not understand everything they are saying because they, they are they are core American guys. Some of it is not relatable to our environment. But I feel the core of the subject matter, what we're talking about AI and how it's going to affect graphic design, was very interesting and also very insightful. So it's good content, and I would advise any of you who hasn't watched that video on the WhatsApp group to watch it. And I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on that. I'm going to talk about that. But again, I'm also going to talk about a video that I shared on on the group about Pepsi rebrand. Then, although they've rebranded from that logo that I shared, but there was a guy on Instagram. I've forgotten his handle that was talking about how elaborate their brand document, their presentation was, and how a lot of what they were saying didn't really make sense to him. It seems like they were overpaid for that job. So he was talking about why would Pepsi spend 1 million, number one, on such a shoddy looking logo and such ridiculous documentation. So I want to talk about that too. I'm going to talk about that too. So for this class, we are going to be talking a lot about work, this thing called work. Because one thing we must know is that work has been highly disrupted. Work has been disrupted. What we know as work has been disrupted. And the earlier we see it, the earlier we can prepare for it. But one thing that concerns me is that not too many people are seeing this disruption. So they're just going ahead with work like nothing has changed. But something has changed. And I want to have this discussion with you guys, my mentees, because I don't want you guys to go into the future of work unprepared. I don't want to be like a bearer of bad news, but a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. A lot of people, ex- I don't, it's not just designers, though, in every industry are going to lose their jobs. In any, I can't even think of one industry that will not be affected. Only those that are prepared mm, would have jobs going into the future. And the future I'm talking about is not like 2030. I'm talking about from end of this year, next year. It's happening already. So we need to know that work has changed. Work has been disrupted. It has been disrupted, and I want you guys to be prepared for it, so that you are not part of the casualties of work going forward. Um, it's just like there was a time I was watching this tsunami that happened. Was it in 2006 or so? That tsunami that happened in a lot of Asia then, and you see, the tsunami was giving signs, but people were not looking at the signs. So there are a lot of videos on the internet about that tsunami. I think 2004, 2006, I can't remember. But then people were at the beach, and what they saw, they kept on seeing like the ocean was going back. So they were seeing like the ocean that was very close to them had gone several meters back. So they were interested in the fact that they could now see what they couldn't see before, the bottom of the ocean. You understand? They could see ground that they couldn't, that was covered by ocean before. So a lot of them just kept on going further into it. But they didn't understand that that was the initial sign of the tsunami. And so they didn't understand that, you see, when a tsunami is about to happen, the water will recede first. So it's almost like a ram. You know, when rams, when they want to fight, they will go back. So when you see a ram receding, don't think it's running away. It's trying to gather up steam to ram you. That's the same thing the ocean was doing then. So it kept on receding, receding, and then it came forward with full force. And those who didn't understand the signs, a lot of them were perished in that tsunami. They didn't see the signs. So I want us to see the signs of these things. Um, so there's this huge elephant in the room called artificial intelligence, AI. It's a buzzword right now, and some of us don't understand the impact it's going to play on our work lives, but it's beginning to play that. And you know, I was of that mentality too. I didn't know I was just AI, AI, but I never knew what it was all about. You understand? I never knew how it was going to affect me as a designer. I knew in theory, but then I didn't know how deep this affecting me as a designer or as a creative would be. Till about 2 months ago, I went out with my wife and she introduced me to AI. And now she introduced me, she just showed me something on her phone that she had designed with AI. And I just said, look at this illustration I designed. And I looked at it, I was like, are you kidding me? You designed this thing with AI? I said, yeah, I designed it with AI. I'm like, AI can do this? I said, yes, now. It's doing this now. As in, and I looked at it, there's no way I would have designed that thing for my wife. And I have 20 years experience as a designer. There's no way I would have designed that. I was like, although the words were messed up, but the illustration was spot on. Ah, that caught my attention then. And I told her, show me how you did it. Then she showed me this AI platform called Bing. And I think it's called Design Copilot or something like that. But you should check it out. Bing Design Copilot. And she told me, okay, just type in what you want here. Just type in what you want. And I typed it in and it came out with 4 options of what I had typed. I think I typed in some images of dogs and stuff, and it got it. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And I didn't believe that it would get what I wanted so accurately, but it did. And then I tried it again, and it came up with stuff. And that day, I did about 15 AI images, if not up to 20. I did it all day. She told me about it around 12 o'clock. I did it till about 9 in the evening. I just kept on prompting and prompting. And I just kept on going down that rabbit hole. And I've been going down that rabbit hole for like 2 months now. And that rabbit hole is fascinating. To be honest with you, it is fascinating. If anybody tells you there is something AI cannot replicate in design right now, it is not true. As far as I know, and it's getting better every single day because it's doing something called machine learning. So you see, the beauty of this thing, and the beauty, and for some people, is very concerning that every single time we've been designing work and putting it on the internet, it has not just been going nowhere. The internet has been taking all our work and has been learning from every single thing we've been doing, every single thing we've written about design, every single design we've put up, we've shared. The internet, the machine behind it has been learning how to do these things, and has been doing it for years, for decades, to be honest with you. So they're just introducing AI to us, but they've known about it for a very long time and they've been using it. But the thing about it now is that now they're exposing it for us to use. And it's still part of the machine learning because they want to perfect everything about it. So if you go to some platform, you realize that when you type some words, AI will miss the word. You understand? It doesn't know because it hasn't learned, perfected that to use words within graphics. But then it's perfecting it every single day. And the other day, I was about to sleep. And on the bed, I said I'd never designed. I think I designed a logo once, and what happened was my kids were having this special Father's Day celebration in their school. So they said they wanted each child to wear a T-shirt with the father's photo on it. And I said, no, I don't want my children going around with my photo on their shirt. So I told the person that was making the T-shirt, can I do a design for you? And I said, yeah, I can do a design. It doesn't have to be your face. So I went and tried to do the design. So, I've not designed on laptop in a while. So when I went to try to design on laptop, I was looking for the font. I just got tired. I just said, man, I don't want to do this thing. I don't have time to start designing anything, to come up with anything in my head. Because I had some things in my head, but then it was too stressful to do the work on Illustrator. So someone just told me, try it out with AI. Up until then, I've been doing AI, but I've never done anything apart from animals and stuff, and actual, characters. Because I'd always gone with the information that AI was bad with text. So I spoke with my friend Yinka, and Yinka some days before that, told me there was this AI platform that knew how to use text, but I didn't believe him. So I said, let me try out this Yinka's platform. So he told me about some a platform called ideogram.ai. And I just went on ideogram and I just said, do a logo for me with the name dad, and let the letters be interconnected and form a heart. And when I did it the first time, it came up with an image, and I was so surprised that it was not excellent design, but it was what I asked it to do. There was dad in the middle, and the dad has extended into a heart. And I said, oh, if you can do this, let me give it clearer details of what it should do. So I now told it, um, create a logo suitable, an image suitable for a logo with black text on a crisp white background, and would have the word dad written in a script font with the letters creatively, um what are I creatively extending out of the font to form a heart. And immediately just gave me like four different options of incredible design. And I was shocked. I didn't even know which one to even take. I said, there's no way I would have sat down to do this thing myself. And that was the first time I created a logo with AI. As in, just gave me the logo, as in the logo was just prepared. That's what I sent to and I know there's this mentality that we have, okay, the resolution will not be too good. It gave me good resolution, because that's what I sent to the people that did the t-shirt, and they created that thing on the t-shirt. So not only does it work, it works in production too. So where do you come in as a designer? Do you understand? This thing did this thing for me in less than 10 minutes. It would have taken me a whole lot of time to do something that would not be as good. But then it was done with AI. That was the first time. The second time I designed a logo with AI was just some days ago. I think about last week. I was about going to bed, and I said, let me try this logo thing again. So I thought of something. I'll share the logo with you guys on the WhatsApp group. I said, okay, let me just think of a word. And I thought of, okay, royal priesthood. I said, okay, let me design a logo for a a bike, a biker, a bike club, a biking club, or stuff like that, a bike gang called Royal Priesthood. So I took it and I said, okay, AI should. I gave it the prompt. I said, design an image suitable for a logo, with the words Royal Priesthood, and the Royal Priesthood should be written in a font that is reminiscent of a bike gang, and it should incorporate a cross and a crown. And the image he gave me was incredible. As in, I'll send to the group after this, and you'll see it. When my daughter saw it, she was like, "Was this designed with AI?" I said, "This was designed with AI, ready for use, ready, done 5 minutes before I went to bed. 5 minutes before I went to bed. One prompt. I didn't even remix the prompt. Oh, just one prompt, and it gave me those options. That's when I realized, there is something up here. So when Samuel sent that thing, I totally understood what those guys were saying when they realized it will get to a point where if you want to do design and you can't use AI, then there's a problem. Because if you're not using AI right now, what it means is that you are working too hard for too little. You are working too hard for too little, because the work just got easier. It just got easier to do. You understand? And I know someone was telling me, like, when I was sharing some of these AI images, someone was telling me, oh, I remember when I used to do typography stuff about 10, 15 years ago. I said, yeah, I used to do it then. And the guy was like, your work was so detailed. And I really loved your work. I saved your work on my computer. But what he didn't know was that each of those works I did know yourself and blossom, don't stop believing, all those things. It took me days to do those things, days. And now it's taking me just minutes to do it. And so it is something you need to start to do. Because I've had people that have approached me and have told me this thing, it doesn't, this thing, like I have a friend that continuously tells me that this thing is stealing other people's works and modifying them for you. But I don't believe that. I don't believe it because I've done too many ridiculous things that I realized that it cannot be someone's work. In fact, me and my wife, we've been trying to disprove this thing for weeks now. So what we did was I took that logo, that dad logo I did. I said, if it's somebody else's work, then it should be out there because it can only read what you've put on the internet. So I took it and I used Google camera, you understand, to search it. So I took the image on my phone and I used that Google camera to search it, and it searched for it. And the only place it came up with it was the ones that are put up. So I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. If you use that your Google camera, that means if you take a photo of something, of an image, Google will look at it and search the internet for anywhere that has been put that thing exists and to present it to you. So if you take a photo of something, of a flower, if you don't know the name, it will search for it on the internet and tell you. If you take a photo of a poster, it will search for it on the internet and tell you who put it up. So when I put up that my dad logo, and I took the image of it on that Google image finder, whatever it is. It took me only to where I put it up. Took me to my Twitter page, took me to my Facebook page, and took me to my Instagram page. And it didn't exist in any other place. That tells me that it was an original image. It was an original image. It doesn't exist anywhere. So don't let anybody fool you that it is unethical. As far as unethical, I don't think it's unethical. They do not plagiarize anything. The only thing is that it has learned what these words mean, what these styles mean, and how to put them together in record time. And that's something that will be very, very hard for us to beat as human beings. How does this affect your work? It affects your work in two ways. Number one, going into the future, people are not going to accommodate human error anymore. Human error anymore. So all those jobs that you did that you say, well, she can't do more than that. She's just a human being. That excuse will not be tenable anymore. It's not going to be tenable because you have that machine that can make it almost perfect right now. You understand? And people are going to get used to seeing all those almost perfect images that when you come with your own human looking design, it's always going to look subpar. It's always going to look subpar. Always going to look subpar. Look, all those jobs that I did 15 years ago, that was typographic, those typography work that I did many years ago, they are good. But when I compare them to what I'm developing now, it's almost like night and day. I can see the human error in the work I did 15 years ago. In this one, I can see the, when you look at the fonts, you see how they blend with each other. Everything is well accounted for. It's now making that my initial work look like an amateur work. And that's how the clients will begin to see work. They will begin to not accommodate those things that are like human error anymore. That's going to be very, very hard for you to compete with. Number two way in which it's going to affect the way you work is people are not going to be able to wait for you to do work 2 days, 3 days, 1 week, 1 month. They won't need to wait anymore. All these things we must have to deal with. The world just got faster. Now, I'm not sure whether that's something I'm totally comfortably with morally, but at the same time, it's something I would have to adjust to. I'm not sure whether that's something I'm comfortable with. Like if I were to decide the way the world works, or if I would decide for the world to be faster, but it's something I have to adjust to. because I am too small to determine how the world says they are going to work. And this takes me back to many years ago. See, I learned how to drive many, many years ago, but I learned how to drive with a manual gear. Manual gear. Some of you don't know what manual gear is. Manual gear cars. So you will see this, the gear had like directions, reverse, gear one, gear two, gear three, gear four, gear five. You understand? So you have to be moving it in different directions. So while you were learning how to drive, there was the clutch and there was the accelerator. So when you are driving, you start the car gear one. When the car starts raving, you know to change the gear. So you are working with all your senses. You couldn't be that when you're using manual car, you use manual car and be texting somebody. It's not possible. You all your attention had to be because you're driving with your ears, with your hands, with your eyes, and with your feet. So your feet was always it was like if your feet were controlling these things, these pedals. It was always going between accelerator, clutch, brake. Then your hand will be looking at the gear. Do you understand? Take it to gear one, take it to gear two. Then your ear will be listening to what the engine is doing, whether the engine is revving too much, telling you to go up gear or to come down. It was it was it was it was a task driving. And then this thing called automatic gear system came into was developed, and they started making automatic cars, and they decided to filter into Nigeria. You understand? Although there's still a lot of manual cars and automatic cars, then people were learning. You didn't have to be changing the gear yourself. The gear was changing itself. You understand? So when the engine raised, the gear system will adjust itself. So you could now drive without looking at your hand. And then they took out the clutch. So initially there were three pedals. Now there are only two. Do you understand? So they've taken out the clutch, so your leg could be comfortable. And what else did they take out? So it was an easier experience. The driving experience was incredibly easy. But you know what happened? People like me that had learned how to drive with manual system, we now started looking down on people that were learning with automatic. We're looking at them like, they don't know, these are not real drivers. The real drivers are the ones that use manual system. They're the real drivers. All you people here, you don't know how to drive. You don't know how to drive until you can use a manual system. I used to tell people that my wife learned how to do, she learned with automatic. So I used to tell her, you don't know how to drive. Automatic is not how to drive. You're just driving, and the car is just driving you. What kind of driving is that? You're not using your energy. And then something happened. They started phasing out manual cars. People were like, they're not driving manual anymore. So you want someone to say, so let me drive my car. You get there, you see automatic. Like, I can't drive this one. No. It's the real cars that I know how to drive. And then started phasing out the real cars in quotes. And then in the end, what we had was majorly automatic cars. And then those of us that knew how to drive manual, what became of us? We became people that didn't know how to drive. That's what happened. And then I had to learn manual. I had to learn automatic. I had to come off my high horse that I learned the hard way. And because I learned the hard way, I thought that I had the right of way. But that's not true. Then the people that were driving automatic now became the people that knew how to drive, even though they were driving the easier way. So don't let anybody deceive you. Hmm? AI is easy, and it seems too good to be true to be a way of working. But very soon, this way of working, Figma, Adobe Photoshop, I'll talk about Adobe very soon. Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, those things you fade out so fast overnight that all you will be left with is prompt this thing for me. I want my work in 5 minutes, and they are willing to pay you for it. And I know I can use my Illustrator. I'll send it to you tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, we don't want it tomorrow morning. We want it 5 minutes time. Very soon, because along over time, 5 minutes had become unfair. But now technology has made it fair. Do you understand? I just did a campaign for a company now. Campaign. We did like how many images? 15 images, AI images, as in 3D AI. They look stellar. 15. We did it in a few days. This thing is meant to take a normal advertising agency a number of weeks, if not months, to develop this thing. We did it in a few days. In a few days, myself and my wife, in our house. No copywriter. We use ChatGPT for it. We use Bing for what we were meant to use it for, and we did the campaign. And me and Selma we're looking at this campaign is something they take to Insight now. And Insight will bring a team of people, graphic designer, copywriter, 3D animator, all those people will come. Two of us did it. 15 3D image, as in pixel looking 3D images. Everything looking good. The people were impressed. But we didn't break a sweat. It took us just a number of days to do it. And that's because we were trying to choose which image was best. We could have done it in one day. You see, you need to start dabbling into these things. I'm begging you. I'm actually begging you guys. Start dabbling into it. Don't get left out. Adobe is in serious trouble. That company is swimming to save their life. And that is why they are cracking down on trying to get money from people for subscription and stuff like that, because people have stopped using it. That's the reality. People have stopped, so they're trying to make money from the people that are using it. Look, Adobe has always known that people were using their crack software. They've always known. They were just making too much money to care about it. But now they can't afford that anymore. That's why their subscription is like they're choking your neck. That if you have a cracked version of Adobe, you try logging to the internet, you have one of these cracked early versions, immediately they've got you. Immediately when the Adobe start snooping around like that, they were too big to care whether Africans were using it. But now they want to mop up that money because they realize the window is closing. Even their Adobe Firefly, their AI plugin, there are too many steps. It still doesn't compare to regular AI because you still have to launch that Adobe. You still have to type in stuff. The steps are too many. Firefly cannot work. It can't. It won't work. You understand? It won't work. There are too many steps until they simplify it to a point whereby on your phone you can go to their platform and all you need to do is type. Adobe will always be playing a losing game, but they are still trying to play the software game, and the software game is dying. It is the platform game now. They must create a platform that people can just go to and just type. But they're not willing to do that. They're not used to that model. So they will die a natural death. And when they die a natural death, that their way of working will not work anymore. The way of working with their software will not work anymore. So I'm just asking you guys to start whatever it is you're doing, whatever. Just look for the AI version of it and just start playing with it. You understand? Start playing with it. Start experimenting with it. Very important. I was looking at a guy's Instagram page today. Awesome Instagram page. The guy is in Turkey. The guy develops architectural models with an AI software. I will send it to the group too. So there are two things I'll send to the group. Please, Dami, remind me if I don't send any of this. Remind me there are two things. There is the guy with the architectural software and also the logos I did with AI. Remind me to send it if I forget. But then I'll send awesome stuff. Awesome. He's using vegetables and fruit as inspiration, and he just sends it to the AI software and it develops an architectural 3D image. Incredible stuff. This accelerated 3D image that people used to render for weeks before their computer will crash. Someone is doing it at the click. Not even click anymore, just the sending of a prompt. So we need to think about it. AI is here to stay. It is not a trend, it's a reality. It's a disruption to work, which we must adjust ourselves to. So that's talking about the AI part of it. I thought it was just very important to let you guys know that. Especially you guys that are younger, I'm not even doing AI for money. I'm just doing it just to discover. You understand? And so that I can better guide younger people like you who can now use it to make money. I'm not doing any of my designs. I'm not interested in doing designs for money per se, but it's just experimentation. Even this campaign that we did was just experimentation. You understand? But you guys that still want to set up design companies, please check it out. Check out Bing and check out Ideogram. Even though Bing is much more liberal, you understand, in terms of Ideogram, they're still trying to make money from people, and I wish they change that business model because that would be their shortcoming. but then they're still giving a lot of things for free. Forget about all they'll tell you to increase your plan. You don't need to increase any plan. Just use their 15, their 20 daily prompts. That's good enough for you to practice anything. But Bing, on the other hand, can give you unlimited prompts so that they'll say it's slower, but then it will still allow you to prompt as much as possible. Use it. Start prompting, because prompting is an art. You get better the more you do it, and it allows you to be able to talk about your thoughts, describe your thoughts. It's something you have to start to practice, start seeing it in your mind, and start articulating what you see in your mind. It's an art. You don't want to learn it when a job comes. You want to learn it before the job comes. Because when we did this campaign for this company, what we used were prompts that I had already learned by playing with the AI. So when they came, all we just did was just use the prompts that we had already experimented with. So that's why the work took us less time. But then, if you're just learning the prompt at the point of the work, it's too late. You understand? So start learning to prompt. It might be hard at first, but what you can do, and I would advise you, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, especially with something like ideogram. With ideogram, you see other people's works and you can look at their prompts. Don't try to create fresh prompts from yourself. Start by creating using other people's own, changing the words, and now what they call remixing it. You remix it, change the words, and come up with your own. Very soon you get used to the language. And then when you get to the language, you can start prompting yourself. So don't think you have to do it from your head. Do you understand? Even Bing does it. It will give you examples, and then you can look at their prompts and say, okay, this is what they are saying. This is what they are saying. Then start using it. You understand? But then that's how you can work as a designer using AI. So I thought to share that with you. Very important. The second thing I wanted to talk about was this video that I sent on the Pepsi logo. I don't know how many of you had the opportunity to watch that video. But if you haven't, go back to the group and watch it, where a guy was talking about how Pepsi spent $1 million on this. That I think they've even rebranded from that logo, but on their logo that kind of looked funny, and it was talking about how their brand manual was just full of words that didn't make sense to him, and I was kind of mocking them. And when I put that thing up, I said, look, design is more than eye candy. It's more than it is beautiful. It is more than it is beautiful. And that's what I'm going to talk about right now. We need to stop thinking about design as just doing beautiful work. It starts out that way, but it definitely shouldn't end at that. If all you can do as a designer is create beautiful works, you are going to be broke. You're going to be broke. I'm telling you. Beautiful work don't get you to work with the people you desire to work with. There's a glass ceiling that beautiful work cannot break. And that's why I decided to have this meeting with you guys here today, to just make you aware. And whoever is going to listen to this, if you're in the design industry, you must understand that there is a glass ceiling that beautiful cannot break. And that's why you see people, their work is so good, but they cannot get beyond a particular level. And this is where I wanted to um, putting out that video, I put on my WhatsApp and on Facebook too, and I got a lot of designers interact with me, and it exposed a lot of how designers are thinking right now, and on what level they are thinking. Because a lot of people kind of reached out to me and just said, "Ah, sir, I don't agree, and this logo is not fine. It's not fine. It's not." They kept on saying it's not fine. I'm like, and they kept on saying it's a rubbish logo. It's rubbish. They didn't do it well. Can you come? And they're like, I'm sure, sir, if they gave you money, you will do it better and stuff like that. And a lot of these messages I didn't bother to reply because it was going to be too long of a conversation. So I said I'll try to explain right now when I'm talking with you guys. Look, it's not about fine. At a point, you cannot be thinking about fine as the yardstick of your delivery as a designer. Fine can only get you so far. So far. And that so far is not very far. And I kind of realized that the problem you see, there are three levels in this pyramid of social status. There are three major levels. There's at the bottom level, which is the broadest of this pyramid, is something you call the lower class. At the middle level, something you call the middle class earners, and then at the top level you have the upper class. So it's pretty explanatory. You have the upper class at at the very top, that small tip of the triangle, upper class, very small. They're what they call the one percenters. They have the middle class, very broad. You understand? But they are the middle. Then you have the broadest, that lower class. That's how every society every society in this world is based like that. No matter how developed that country is, that's how it is. You understand? That's how it is. So it's nothing strange that Nigeria is like that. It's just everywhere. Go to the US, is like that. Go to China, is like that. Go to Russia, is like that. You understand? There's nowhere where that pyramid is the other way around. So it's always bottom heavy. It's bottom heavy. Now, the truth of the matter is, one thing I've realized from interacting with people is that a lot of people want to work with the upper class. They want to work with the upper class, but they don't understand how the upper class think or their value system. So a lot of people take their middle class and lower class value system and try to brush it up and present it to the upper class. And what they don't understand is that the upper class will never be attracted to that, no matter how much you brush it up. A middle class or a lower class value system doesn't work in the upper class level. They're not attracted to it. I've met too many people that are trying to run businesses and saying, I want to cater to these people, which I think is a mistake in itself. It might not be, I won't say it's a mistake, but I just feel if you are in doing business to make money, yeah, you're trying to cater to the upper class, the money is not there. Because the upper class in themselves, they don't cater to themselves, they cater to the lower class. They sell to the lower class. So you can see their products always, they're always things, commodity products, because that's how you really make money, by selling a lot of something, not by selling a very special something to a few people. You understand? That's why you realize that the biggest companies is still all this Toyota, not Lamborghini. No, those guys don't hold a candle to Toyota. They don't hold a candle. You understand? So it's still the mass products that that still end up making a lot of. Do you think that the masses can afford? So a lot of people just think that, oh, if I cater to the high and mighty, I'll make money. No, you probably wouldn't. You probably won't make as much money than being able to cater to the lower class. So for all of you doing business here, if but it's very, very hard to cater to the lower class. I won't lie to you, because there are so many. You need to have facilities that can produce for that many. And that's why it's always the upper class that are able to establish businesses to cater to the lower class. So what you can do is, I would advise you to aim for middle class. Even if you're in middle class, try it because it's broad enough. You understand? You might not have the capacity to cater to the lower class, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot to have a product that can reach 1 million people. 1 million people is even more. That's ridiculous. A product that can go around and reach 200,000 people is very hard. It's very hard. You need to employ people. Reach 200,000 people daily, weekly is very, very hard. So what I advise you to do is aim for that middle spot. Middle class should try to sell to middle class. You understand? That's good. And you might have a few up class clients, but try to sell to middle class. But middle class, the problem with a lot of us middle class is we snub each other a lot. We don't like each other. Middle class, we're very, every other class, the lower class bind together, upper class bind together. But the ones in disarray, middle class, because we compete a lot to get out of that class. So it's very competitive in that middle class. The lower class, they bind together because they realize that for them to survive, they need to help each other. The upper class, they try to protect that and to leave it exclusive and to make sure that not too many people escape from the middle class to the level. But the middle class, we all don't, a lot of people don't like being there. So the middle class is the most funny. So you see someone that is earning a middle class wage, but he's trying to live a life, an appearance that is upper class. You understand? So those people you find on social media a lot. But then we've missed the point. We are our own strength. So we need to try to cater to each other. A lot of you here might be middle class minded. You understand? I'm middle class, educated, middle class income. You understand? There are a lot of us here that are there. I'll tell you, aim for that. You understand? Aim to sell to the middle class. It's very hard to sell to the upper class. But then, where I'm going with this is, if you want to sell to the upper class, you need to understand how they think. A lot of us think the same thing that operates within the lower class and middle class operates within the upper class, and that's not true. It's just like being on Earth and thinking that what operates on Earth is what operates on the moon. If you do that, what will happen is that you go to the moon and die. You die because number one, no oxygen there. Number two, no gravity there. So it's going to be such an awkward, uncomfortable experience for you. That's why people that work in NASA, what happens is that a lot of them get trained for the atmosphere on the moon. So they have a lot of simulations and stuff like that. So that when they go there, they can adjust. The same thing with you. If you're not upper class brought up, upper class educated, you can't think you can get there by just adopting your own value because their value system is totally different. So you must simulate it as much as possible and train yourself to understand. And this is what brought me to that Pepsi thing. A lot of people are thinking that the CEO and those at the top echelon of PepsiCo, which is one of the most valuable company in the world today. Valuable. I'm not even talking about valuable beverage company. I'm talking about company put together. They are not idiots. So when a designer in Nigeria is telling me that those people spent $1 million on rubbish, I'm tempted to ask, do you really think you are smarter than those people? Those people are on the board. Those people top of marketing in Pepsi. Those people that are on decision making table that approve that logo to spend 1 million. Do you really think you are smarter than them? Another way, a lot of designers and creatives, they're not humble enough. A lot of us, if you tender your portfolio, it wouldn't make it past the first level of acceptance of screening at Pepsi. You understand? These are people that screen design agencies, global design agencies, and then designers just say this their logo was rubbish, it's wasted money. Do you think Pepsi just has money to waste? You think those people just want to waste 1 million? So what we must think of is why did they approve this thing that I don't like visually? Do you understand? You must ask yourself, what am I not seeing that they are seeing? But don't assume that you know what they are not seeing, because those people are not idiots. They are not idiots. I can guarantee you they are not. If you go to their boardroom and they talk to you about branding, you yourself will be humble. You understand? It's always ridiculous to me when designers are like, "Hey, this thing is rubbish. It's rubbish. They didn't do a good job." Can you even stand in that room? As in, you can't. As in, as in the VP of marketing, you can't. As in, you can't even get close to the person. So the question is why? Why? And this comes with this value system. This is what I want us to understand. And as they're doing business, I want you guys that are doing business to listen to what I'm going to say closely. I talked about this pyramid: lower class, middle class, upper class. It's everywhere. So what I'm going to say would help you if you go anywhere, whether you're in Cameroon, you're in Nigeria, you're in Senegal, you're in China, wherever you are. This applies. The thing about people at the lower class is that they are um, their value system is very visual driven. You understand? So they want to make a visual connection. A visual connection guarantees for them that their money is well spent. So they judge what they buy, what they take, through how it looks. The visual is 90%. Any other thing is 10%, if not 100%. That it looks good means it's good. So they go by the looks. For them, it's looks. Looks get it for them. It looks good. This thing looks good. Do you understand? It looks good. So they will go for the one that looks better. That's why it's very easy to just polish something. If you take and you see, people that understand furniture and wood, they will tell you that the one that has the most varnish, don't buy it. The one that has the most natural grains, it might not look too attractive, might not be shiny. Buy that one. That one will last. But you know what? The shiny one is what the lower class wants. You understand? Because everything is visual. It's the visual confirmation that they want. So when you're working for them, doing the logo for them, They want that logo to look the best. They want it to look very good. That's why they can stress you a little bit when you're working. Hey, it doesn't look, it doesn't look, it doesn't look. You do like 20, no, it doesn't look, it doesn't look. For them, it's that look. You do brand manual for them, they won't read it. It's that look. Don't say me any brand manual, just look. You understand? It's look. It's how it looks. So when you go to Alaba, all those things, the designer they work with is the one whose work looks better. If I were to go to Alaba, I would struggle for clients because I talk too much English. The same thing too, when they are listening to music, their own sense of music has nothing to do with what the person is saying. It's whether it makes them dance. So it's very surface. When I say visual, I don't just mean visual in terms of sight. I just mean something tangible, something that is more, that appeals more to your flesh. You understand that kind of thing? So they're not too critical. They're not too critical. If you do a song and you say they will dance as long as it just makes them dance. What lyrics doesn't make sense. Lyrics doesn't exist. So that's why some of them might listen to someone like Asha and say, hey, what she's saying? I bet it's boring, Jerry. I had a guy who was my friend in school. Whenever we watch a movie and they are speaking too much like this, you guys say, oh, what are you watching? This is rubbish. I know them shoot each other. They're not shooting now. I like this movie. Are you not listening to what they are saying? No, they're not shooting now. Nobody's nothing exploding here. I'm like, this guy is a graduate. This guy is an undergraduate. And he won't watch it again. That's his mind. It's about that special effect. That's why they like Indian movies like crazy. Indian movies, they like it. So whether it's possible or not, that's not anybody's business. You understand? So it's very visual. They're very visual driven. As long as there's a visual connection, you can sell to them. Visual connection, you can sell to them. That's why politicians take them for granted, because visual politicians are the king of showmanship. Visual. They will show you bags of rice, show you, they will come in like in nice array of cars and stuff. They are flowing agbada, and that's what they take as a credible politician. It's very easy to win the lower class. Visual. There are visuals. If you come there and you're now telling them something, no, you're talking too much. Show me something. You understand? That's how the lower class thinks. That's how they're conditioned to think. You understand? Then there's the middle class. The middle class are not as visual, but they are visual too. You understand? We like visual. That's the truth. However, there is this cerebral nature that the middle class has. They are very cerebral, so there must be an intellectual connection. You understand? An intellectual connection beyond just visual. You must tell them what it does. What does it do? How long does it last? You understand? What did you use to make it? They will ask questions. They will ask questions. They are very cerebral. So they like it, number one, good, but they will ask, why should I buy it? Why is it good? What's good about it? Where was it made? What does it do? If I buy it, would I need to buy another one in 2 years' time? How long does it last? That the ones they will read the manual a bit, depending. There are different grades of them, but they're not. You can't just sell them on visuals. You understand? They want to know. So when you're working with them as a designer, they're the ones that they would like to see your brand manual, and if it makes sense, it has to make sense to them, because that education just makes them feel like if things need to make sense. So they will say, okay, so what does this mean? Okay, I understand what you were talking about here. This makes some sense and stuff like that. Because the thing about the middle class is, remember, they're always trying to keep up with their parents. So the middle class always wants to prove that they know, that they've been schooled. You see, the biggest irritation on the middle class is the lower class. They want to try to remove themselves from them as possible. So they want to say, I just don't like the logo, but then I want you to tell me more about it. So what they will see is like this PepsiCo, and they will like, Pepsi, they have something called brand guide. So my own company too must have brand guide. You understand? So they read the brand guide. Is it as good? Is it as great as Pepsi's own? You understand that kind of thing? So they want to read the brand guide. If it is the trend of the day, the middle class will like it. You understand? So it's trendy to have that. It's trendy, I must have it too. But they are cerebral. You understand? So you must explain some things. So working with them, you might have to explain one or two things. And once you can explain to them, they are cool. Once you can explain to the middle class, they're cool. You can explain to them that this thing is fine, and not only is it fine, it also works well. And it works well because of this, this, and this. And you know what? If you use it, you won't need to change it for the next 10 years. It will save you money. So you give them a reason for aesthetics. They like it. And that's how they think. It makes sense. So you see, when that guy was reading that Pepsi manual, number one, it was breaking all the rules. It didn't work for the lower class because it wasn't a fine logo. Number two, what they were writing didn't seem like something that made sense. It seemed abstract. So it had failed middle class, lower class examination. That's why there's such an uproar about that logo. And it seems like a waste of money. Why should you spend 1 million naira on something that is not fine and doesn't sound intelligent? That is where we miss it. Because a lot of people try to sell to the upper class with this mentality that if it is fine and it makes sense, then I should be able to enter. But that's not true. That's why you realize that a lot of middle class people we try to cover up a lot of what we have with certificates and just say, well, if I go and I go to university and get this degree and get this certificate and get this, when I go to that company, they should take me. But they might take you, but they don't raise you. So they just use you. And they keep trying and trying and trying and trying that how do I break into that? They never get to break into. Because the truth of the matter is that the value system of the upper class is different. So the upper class, they don't really bother on aesthetics that much or on intellect, although they have a great respect for intellect because they realize it's a means to an end. So they like intellectual people. They will give you some reward, but you are never going to get into the club. Never. That is people work. They work as PA, work as this, work as this. But you know they will still bring that their son or whatever their cousin to come and take the position. You still work for the son. I see it too many people, too many expressions of it. I see people work for upper class people, and there a lot of middle class people work so hard, work till night, work so, and the end they say, okay, so I'm traveling to the UK, to the US, and you just keep running my company. You work for them, and they'll just be throwing you some small things. They'll throw you some small trinkets, but in the end, it's still their son you come and work for because it's hard to get into that. They don't want anybody in there. They don't. Now, before you can get in, what do they appreciate? What is their own kryptonite? Because for lower class, their kryptonite is visual connection. Middle class, our own is cerebral connection. The upper class, they are more spiritual in their thoughts. In their access, a lot of it is spiritual. And that's what people must understand. That it's not by how fine the logo is that Pepsi approved a $1 million logo. It's not. There's a spiritual connection somewhere in that story that is not said verbally, but it's there. The moment I saw that logo, I didn't like the logo. I didn't like it. There were a lot of parodies of the logo, a lot of memes and stuff. But then they used it and they paid for it because somewhere in that story there is a spiritual connection. And that's how I realized that, look, as you continue to go higher, there is something that the physical cannot break, whether intellect or beauty. You can't break that. It's spirituality that breaks it. And there's different types of spirituality. So if you look and you listen to what that guy was talking about in that presentation, there are some things they were saying that doesn't make sense physically, but spiritually it makes sense to them. That's why you see they were talking about timeline, about things that happen through the ages. They mentioned special events and things that had happened. Why did they mention that? That doesn't make sense. What does that have to do with a beverage? They talked about the gravitational pull of the logo. What does that mean? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You see, spiritual things don't make sense to people that are physically minded. And that's the truth. You see, what those people understand is that somebody within that company, it might be the CEO, connected with all those things they were saying. You see, the books that these multi-billionaires that you are seeing are reading, and no, some of them are not the books that you are reading. No. I'm telling you, you'll be surprised what they are reading. You think they are reading Atomic Habits, or they are reading Shoe Dog by Phil. You think Phil Knight is actually reading a book like the book he wrote, Shoe Dog, or Kiyosaki is reading Read That Poor Dad. Look, a lot of these guys, when you read their books, you'll be surprised what they are reading. Some of them are reading some highly spiritual things. You understand? They're reading some things that have to do with metaphysics. You understand? Things that you will find incredibly boring. That's what they are reading. You understand? There's a book I saw many years ago when I started design, and I'm still trying to look for the book. I don't have the title anymore. But then it was very expensive then. But the book was talking about nature and symbols. And the woman was an academic, but she was talking about how symbols affect you as a person and how it affects your decision making. And I realized in that book she talked about the shell, the seashell, and why is that particular shape, and why people like cannot go to the sea. You go to the sea and you must pick one up. She talked about why the spiral of the shell is like that. She talked about different things. Talk about different things. There was a synopsis of the book that I got. This was many years ago, and I was like, "This is interesting." She talked about circles, what circles mean, and she wasn't talking from an academic point of view. She was talking from a seriously spiritual point of view. Talk about a circle, what a circle within a triangle or a rectangle means, what a triangle and a triangle mean. She talked about how all those things, and then she was referring to brands and how a lot of these established brands use these things in their branding in a way of manipulating people. So I call it manipulating, but because you don't have you don't have a choice anymore. You understand? That's how they think. They think beyond it is fine. They think more spiritual. So when they're talking about gravitational pull or something, somebody in that ad agency knows that somebody there values that information. He knows that this guy, if you just mention gravitational pull, he will approve this thing. But you say, what does gravitational pull? Let's talk about how it makes how it contrasts the can and the bottle. They say this guy doesn't care about the can and the bottle. If you say that thing, it will click. That's how it is, the spiritual thing. And that's why you see, the higher you go and the more you study your clients. And you see, when people tell me they want to work for rich people, or I'm not talking about rich people, I'm talking about incredibly rich people right now. I'm always like, do you really want it? Can you satisfy that their need? Because their need is beyond fine. Oh. Their need is beyond it makes sense. Oh. Their need is something else. Some of it is twisted spirituality. Very twisted. That's why when you work with them, some people that work with them will tell you, if you go and work with that man, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you can handle it. Oh. Because they know what they've seen. They tell you if you go to his library, you will know what you see. That's what they'll tell you. That's why there's this Vice. There's a channel on YouTube called Vice. They had this series of content they made at the point in time, and they're talking about people that had worked on yachts, these luxury yachts where rich people have their parties. I watched like three of them. If they tell you what these people do on those yachts, it will shock you. Number one, they are not having parties on yachts because they are yachts. They can have party in hotel and halls too, but they're having party in the middle of the sea, in the middle of nowhere, so that nobody can spy on them. Because what they are going to do at that party, your ear cannot hear it, your eye cannot see it. When the person was talking about what goes on in those parties, he was like, the guy was like, after he's done with the parties, that you will see feces on the floor, you will see blood on the wall, that they just don't ask any question, they just clean up and wait for the next person to order it. What is causing feces to be on the floor and blood to be on the wall at the party? You understand? But those are the parties that they have spiritual connections, and they choose who is doing their branding and who is not doing their branding. It's not by how fine your work is. It's not by that. So you must open your eyes. So don't always think, I want to be with some of you. God is just saving you from the prayers you've been praying. I want to work with this person. I want to work for this company. Do you know what it requires? And that people do it in the music industry a lot. You see, there's this Diddy scandal right now. Diddy. Talk about Diddy. People went to go and find under Bad Boy or Bad Boy. Let me use Bad Boy as an example. They signed with Bad Boy, but they thought Diddy wanted to hear good rap. But Diddy had heard the best of raps. I mean, he was the producer to Biggie. We're talking about Biggie. Biggie was one of the best rappers alive. What do you want to come and rap that you had not heard before? You want to come and sing to him? He has heard too many singers. There's something else he wants. That's why when people talk about the story of Diddy and they're talking about sexual abuse, they don't understand that that's the cost you pay to get into Diddy's inner circle. They think it's just my talent. I can rap. I make sense when I rap. These guys don't, at that level, they don't care anymore. How do you think Diddy, a guy from the hood, became the owner of a record company, Bad Boy Records? How? Because he had to pander to some other rich people like Clive David or so. And you see, when you hear that those people are having sexual relationships, they're like, but that's the truth. That's what they want at that level. They don't care how talented you are, how nice your beat sounds. It is the lower class that care how nice your beat sounds. They don't care how lovely your lyrics are. It's the middle class that care how lovely your lyrics are. They care more about some other kind of symbolism. So what they're asking for is different. It's different. That's why they do a lot of things in private. There's a guy called Jeffrey Epstein. You see, I think you guys should watch more of this documentary because these things are open book answers. They're not strange things. Jeffrey Epstein, he was a friend to royalty, president, head of state, American president, both past and present, British royalty. A lot of them, all these queens, daughters, kings, all of them, they are his friends. And he was sent to prison some years ago. He has died right now. He died in prison. They said it was suicide, but people say he was killed. But he has this island whereby if you want to party, you come to his island. And I thought about it. He has a list of people that are on that island. List of people, global leaders on the island that come to the island. What kind of party are they doing there? But it's an island because they want to seclude it from people. But do you think it is fine girls that they have there? These people get fine girls every single day. Those people are throwing themselves at them. So why they need to go to an island to go and see regular fine girls? No. But what they are doing there is different. Spiritual things. You understand? So sometimes don't wish for what you don't know. Be satisfied with what you have. You understand? Don't wish for what you don't know. Don't wish for what you don't know. And if you are going to try to work for upper class, you better know what they are requesting for. So I see some people that are like, okay, I want to cater. I want to start making food for upper class people, seriously wealthy people. And like, my jollof rice is crazy. My jollof rice is bad. My jollof rice is banger. Do they eat jollof rice? That's the question. A lot of them, they don't eat jollof rice. Some of them, they stop eating meat. They stop eating meat. They are vegan for some reason. They'll tell you it's health reason, but some of them is a spiritual reason. They don't eat meat anymore. So you want to cook their meat, doesn't impress them. Some of them, they will tell you, you see, I saw so many contents on the internet. The one I sent to my wife some months ago. This man went to a high-class restaurant. If you see what they were telling them to eat, they're using their hand to smell some things. They'll tell them to inhale some things and stuff, and they're paying like hundreds of thousands of dollars for that eating experience. In the end, what they eat, something that didn't make sense. So you are trying to cook jollof rice and cow meat, but the only thing the elite is interested in eating is cow horn that you've ground and you put some gold dust on it. Who taught you how to cook that one? Nobody taught you. For you, eating a cow's horn that is ground doesn't make sense. To them, it makes serious sense. So you must know what they want. You must know what they want. So if you are rejected, don't always think it's because you are bad. No, it's because there needs to be a spiritual connection. And that's why you have societies like the Freemasons and the Illuminati. These things are real. You have them because, you see, a Freemason will always give a fellow Freemason, a job over you that is not a Freemason, no matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how good you are. Forget about how good you are. This brotherhood they're talking about. So he knows the guy is a Freemason. He knows. The guy just has to say one thing and he knows this guy is a Mason. You understand? So we get inspired by some of these things and we are inspired and we walk towards it. But you don't understand, there's no walking towards it. There's an introduction to it. And you need to ask yourself, do I want to be introduced to it? So don't fancy don't say, oh, one day I want to work with Coca-Cola, one day I want to work with Nike. Sometimes the cost is more than what you can bear. People in the modeling industry know this all too well. Oh, I want to model for this. I want to model for Versace. I want to model for this. But then there was a video online about a woman that went and saw a guy in an eatery and took him somewhere and said she sent his photo to her boss. And before you know it, he was modeling on the runway somewhere in Europe and stuff. And people were all inspired by it. It seems inspirational, but it's highly concerning because the undertones are like that boy that goes might not be, and most likely will not be the boy that will come back. They will change his sexual orientation. If he wants to go find that model, that sexual orientation cannot be the same. If he wants to wear a particular designer's outfit, he cannot say he's heterosexual. It cannot, not possible. You understand? There's a height you can never reach. There's a height you can never reach if you do not take cocaine. You understand? They're just not cool enough. They're not cool enough. You don't take cocaine, you can hang. You understand? Those are the boundaries. So you must begin to think of those things, and don't be so ambitious to say I want to work with the upper class without an understanding of what they want, because there's a lot of spirituality involved in these things. There is a lot of spirituality involved in these things, and that's why, in conclusion, there is this spirituality thing is not totally hopeless, because that's why when you read like the Bible tells you about cater to your brother in church first before the people on the outside. Every spiritual belief tells you to cater within the fold first. So what the Masons are doing is not unusual. What the Illuminati is not unusual. It's the same thing that Christianity is asking of you. It's the same thing that Islam asks of the Muslims. Do you understand? That's the same thing. They cater to those with the spiritual faith first. Do you understand? That's why pastors are so powerful. That's why they're so powerful, because that's why you see like a very rich person. Nobody can call him, but his pastor can summon him because he respects spirituality over any other thing. The pastor will summon, he will go to the pastor, he will go to him, leave his house. You understand that kind of thing? And you see, so in the long run, I want us to not just be visually minded as designers, and don't just be intellectually minded as designers. Be spiritually minded. Um, do work that has spiritual value. That is the work that will get you in the presence of greatness. I'm telling you, it's not how good your work is. Adobe Photoshop. No, 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 no. That is the work that will get you in the presence of greatness. Do work that connects with people on a spiritual level, not in a viceful spiritual level, on a virtuous spiritual level. Take some time to do personal work, and that's why I'm going to talk about personal work in closing. We must start doing. If you watch that video that Sam put up, he talked about how the future is not for commissioned work. This commissioned work cannot do much for you. What will do much for you in the long run is personal work that talks about your own personal spiritual values. There's a guy in that video that those people were talking about. His name is Jax. I think Life for Jax. If you watch that video, they talked about him. They say he's doing really good work. When I went to his page, the work looks like rubbish. I will send it to the group. Hey, damn it, just remind me of all these things. I said I'll send it to the group. I will send that guy that Life for Jack Instagram page that people are saying his work is good. He has over 10K followers. When I look at his work looks like something that somebody in primary 2 is doing. It doesn't look good to me. But you know what? For those people that are looking at it in the US, it's saying something to them spiritually. They don't care about how nice the work is. A lot of them are on drugs. So when they look at his work, they're like, oh man, this just reminds me of how I was seeing the world when I was high on ecstasy. So they love his work for that reason. It's not about anything, not about any special effects. They love it because it just makes them remember when they were high. You do your work and let someone remember when God helped them. Do your personal work. Let someone remember how good God is to them. Stop doing all this work, this placebo work that don't have any soul. A lot of commercial work has no soul. It's just for a client that wants to make profit. It's good, but it's not the highest level. The highest level of work is the work that speaks to someone's spirit. That someone will see the work, they will save it on their system for 10 years, and they go back to it every time they are sad, every time they are confused. Let's start thinking deeply as designers. as creatives. When you start thinking deeply, the people that will call you will surprise you. The people that will tell you, I've been looking at your work, they will call you, they will surprise you. But it's not on a commercial level. That never happens on a commercial level. If you do it on a personal, spiritual level, you will have the big breakthrough that you desire. So I hope that makes some sense to you. You might need to listen to this some over and over again to get some things that I've said. But then I think it's very important to tell you guys, especially you guys within the mentoring group. Let's stop think. Let's start living that my work is fine, my work makes sense, and let's start thinking about what does my work symbolize? What spiritual wire or string does my work touch on in people's hearts? This my work. Can I leave it for my children? Can it inspire them when they look at it? Does it make meaning to them? Does it make life better? Does it make things clearer? To be a designer is a great skill. Even any talent you have is a great thing. Do you understand? But then we use it too much to get money. That's not bad. But there's a higher calling, because when we die, money is not going to go with us. There's a higher calling to everything we can do. It's not for the body, it's for the soul of somebody. Let somebody say your work made their soul better. Do you understand? Very important. Let someone say that. So I'll end here. I'll send those things to the group. Dami, just remind me, just itemize everything I meant to send to the group, and I'll send to the group after this call. But I want to thank you guys for taking time to be part of this call. Chanel, Elliot, Dami, Steven, IK. I saw Susan. Susan was here, but she kind of dropped off the call. And Tom was here. I don't know who else was here, but I saw some people. But it's good to have you guys, especially. Steven, reach out to me. Let's talk. It's been a while. It's been quite a while. Elizabeth, yes, I will get back to you. Sorry, you sent me a message, but I'm not able to listen to it because just too much to do. But I like take time to listen to your stuff, so I'll get back to you. Same thing with Dami too. Thanks for taking the time, you guys. Chanel, let's talk. Yeah, send me a message. Let me know how you're doing too. Yeah, so guys, be good. I'll be ending the call right now, and feel free to send your questions to the group, and let's continue to have conversation and continue to send in valuable um, content. Share on the group. I really like what Samuel has been doing. He's sending some really awesome stuff. Same thing with Mario and Dami. I want to encourage more of you to do that. All right, guys, take care of yourself. Have a great evening.